Melissa was so gracious to invite me back. I was part of this group when I was up in the Archdiocese, and so it's been sad to not be with you guys. So it's good that you guys are meeting over Zoom, and it's fun to be back.
Well, it's like, when we're having Zoom meetings, anyone can join. So we've even had parishioners that have joined in the last few months that are out of state. Like we have a parishioner in Florida, and I think they're like a family member of someone up here, but
it's awesome.
Yeah, we'll take them.
Yeah, we've tuned in a few times during the virtual masses to Father Byron's at POC. So,
when we first started in March, it was a rocky road initially. Things have gone better, but we just in the last 2 weeks got all of our new audio and video equipment installed. So this coming weekend will be the very first one with the new equipment. So I'm really hoping for better quality because it's been kind of, it's low res. It's low. So tune in after this weekend.
Okay.
Good morning. Molly, good to see you again. Welcome back.
Thanks, Nichole.
How things been going?
Good. Busy. We started school 3 weeks ago, so down here.
Oh, wow.
So just trying to navigate all of that, which is crazy. But so far, everything has been healthy and good, and just trying to kind of figure out how to communicate to our families, like Rilla just said, when that starts, like what do things look like? And here we're over communicating, policies and protocols and stuff like that. So
for sure.
But
good. Yeah, we had our first of the back to school gatherings yesterday. And so they're doing, each of the kids, they're kind of doing individual in the classrooms and lots of spacing and everything, but it's good to kind of hear all the protocols, and just they're even masks and separated. The kids are just so happy to see each other and be back. It's even the parents are happy to see each other,
Right. Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah. And our Knights of Columbus here purchased desk shields for every student.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And so we get to use them for religious ed too, which is great. So
wonderful.
So they don't have to wear their masks when they're sitting at their desk, which is huge, especially for the little ones, kindergarten, first grade, even second. So.
Oh yeah, the little ones, that's going to be great. Yeah, they had those too. I was so impressed. They're actually going, keep your mask on and use your shield and bring it with you, just kind of do that extra. But yeah, anyway, anything you can do is so helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Heidi, I like your background.
Thanks. I do too.
Yeah, very calm,
like a different path.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
I always pick something different every day.
Fun.
Yeah.
You say hi? You say hi? Hey, hi everyone. Say, I'm gonna go eat my Cheerios. Hi everyone.
Nichole, how old is he now?
9 months. So actually almost 10 months now that I think about it. 10 months on September 8th. So crazy. Say, I've figured out how to get out of just about everything my parents have put me in. So so it's fun. It's fun. Yeah. I don't know how anyone of you who have kids have experienced it, but I don't know. My first two, I didn't need to do very much childproofing. I have a feeling this time will be different. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. I think it's 8:45. Let's see. I want to see Alyssa. We are going to introduce you, but I'm going to start first with a prayer. And I'm going to do a screen share. So everyone, I thought we could all pray this together. Let me get there. Is that working? Are you seeing my prayer?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Lord, I so wish to prepare well for this time. I so want to make all of me ready and attentive and available to you. Please help me to clarify and purify my intentions. I have so many contradictory desires. I get preoccupied with things that don't really matter or last. I know that if I give you my heart, whatever I do will follow my new heart. In all that I am today, all that I try to do, all my encounters, reflections, even the frustrations and failings, and especially in this time of prayer, in all of this, may I place my life in your hands. Lord, I am yours. Make me what you will. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Let me get back over there. Okay. So we have one new person with us today. Alyssa, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Brunel. 2 weeks ago yesterday, I started here at St. Stephen's Catholic Community in Anoka, Minnesota, so a little bit outside the Twin Cities area. I am the Director of Marketing and Communications, so anything external, internal, communications and marketing-wise kind of falls under my realm. I actually come from the IT world. That's where I spent about 5 years doing marketing for a small IT company. Prior to that, I was in a airline consulting role, which at this time I'm kind of glad I am not in that industry because those poor folks are really struggling at this time. I went to school up in Fargo at North Dakota State University. I got a degree in business and marketing. Lifelong Catholic, really excited to be a part of the community here in Anoka and just really help where I can. Obviously, in the era of COVID, things are really challenging. I come from a background of a lot of events and kind of one-on-one communication. So I actually left my job right before COVID hit, and then now coming back into the working world. You know, it's very different, very challenging, but all at the same time, really having a fun time meeting everyone here, and on to my third week here.
Welcome. It's good to have you here, and we can always use
Thank
more IT help.
I am learning. You know, we're all challenged in the tech area, but yes, coming here, I see a lot of areas of opportunity for technology to advance our mission. So
Fantastic. And Molly did say something a little bit ago, but I don't know if you were all here a little over a year ago. Molly left us, but she used to be at
St. Vincent de Paul.
Vincent de
in
Paul,
Brooklyn
sorry,
Park.
I remember. But Molly is joining us from Florida. So Molly, why don't you just quick give us a little introduction and background and maybe tell us what you've got going on right now in Florida.
Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this group again. Like Melissa said, I just finished my first year down here at Incarnation Church in Sarasota, Florida, which is actually the home of Archbishop Hebda's family. His nephew is in my confirmation program. So you can never really leave the Archdiocese, I've learned. And so, yeah, my family and I relocated down here, and I am now Director of Religious Ed and Youth Ministry down here, but they don't have a designated communications person. And so I've been working on website during COVID. I've been doing some of the live streaming, and we put together some podcasts and things like that. And so kind of to help with that communication piece, because that's a part of kind of my background that I really love. Prior to this, I was 18 years up in the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis, in various roles like youth ministry and communications and other areas. So I just found this group to be very helpful and supportive. And so I'm glad that Melissa let me come back in, even as an outsider.
We are happy to have you back. All right, I think that's it for new members. Just a couple of housekeeping things. I wanted to just share our committee, which is made up of Brittany, Amanda, and Megan. Brittany's on here, I see, but I think Megan and Amanda were not able to join us today. But we had talked about, this whole COVID, and we've been Zooming. And so when we first started the paid membership piece, I don't know if it was a year and a half ago or so, we were thinking we would have like a renewal time around the first of the September 1st, the program year. But right now it just doesn't seem like a good time to have people re-register. So we're going to move it so that everyone re-registers the first of the year. So I believe everyone will have gotten at least a year and a half or more out of their membership, the $20 dues. But I just wanted to let you know. So I did remove the membership or the registration link from that the last couple of Flock notes, just so that people didn't go on and register. But I'll put it back in there, because that membership page is kind of like our only web presence we have other than Facebook. So on that web page where we have the registration, we do have the schedule posted. So I'm going to give you that URL. It's bit.ly/Catholic Communicators. That's the shortened URL. But again, I'll put it on the bottom of, it'll be in those quick links that are on the bottom of each of the Flock notes. But that will take you to that registration page. Again, you don't need to do that till the first of the year, 2021. But you can also reference that page for the dates for these meetings, which typically fall the first Tuesday of every month, unless there's like a major holiday. Then we sometimes will move it. So, and then I also wanted to just throw out the idea that anyone is welcome to join our committee. Like I said, it's been Brittany Seberg, Amanda Gromich, and Megan Hathaway, and myself. So the four of us, and right now we're not doing a lot of planning other than as members come in, we try to greet them and log them into our, our database. But we are always happy to have more voices helping us plan and figure out for the future, especially when we start to meet in person again and bring in speakers. It's nice to have more people. So just wanted to let you know. So if you're interested, send me an email or something. And then I just wanted to throw it back to Alyssa to see if, since you're the new person, or Molly, if either of you have any topics that you wanted to, or questions you wanted to ask our group this morning before we open it up for open discussion. Alyssa, I don't know if you have anything, but.
I don't have anything at this moment.
Okay. Sounds good. Molly, any questions you have for our group before we move on?
The only question that I had, something we've been talking about, the dispensation to attend Mass down here in Florida has been extended to November 1st. And part of what we've been talking about is, what does that welcome back communication piece look like when we're able to open wide the doors? How do we really encourage people to come back, given how convenient online and live streaming Masses have been? We obviously know that there's the benefit of the Eucharist and the gift that being in community is, but I've just trying to been thinking ahead of time, hopefully that's not too far out in our future, that we get to welcome everyone back. But what does that communication plan look like to really encourage people to come back to church and not just continue to be at home?
Well, Molly, one thing I saw was in the Diocese of Sioux Falls, now Bishop DeGrood, he had this really cool welcome back video that he did. And it was interesting because he was like, I'm sure that he was going to get some pushback, like, why are you removing the dispensation? Is it safe to return? And so he kind of outlined why I thought it was safe to return, but also why it's his responsibility for the souls of the Archdiocese, and felt that from that standpoint, it was important to get everybody back. So that's the sort of message that if your bishop's not doing it, that your pastor could really deliver. And then from a communication standpoint, that's where you would do a little bit more of the, I'm not sure what the world looks like without that social distancing, but still being more open. I think that that's something that would still be discussed a little bit greater, but, you would maybe focus more on the hospitality, on the, we're so happy to see faces and things, or whatever it is. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like, you guys focus on hospitality, he focuses on the souls. I think, you know, if you're able to do a both and punch, I just know that I was really impressed by the video he did.
Did you say that was a parish or a diocese or?
That was Bishop Don DeGrood, who he was, you know, he was a pastor here. Sarah knows. He was a pastor, you know, in the Archdiocese, and he was made a bishop. But yeah, so he did an announcement over in Sioux Falls because they removed the dispensation. They haven't had as much trouble with COVID there. And so that he made that decision.
Okay. Does anyone else have any plans, communication plans in the works for welcoming back? I know we welcomed people back for, like, you know, our one service that we are having here, but you know, our numbers are really low yet. And I think it's because we have such an older community here. I really haven't seen young families at all. So I'm a little nervous about losing them, or actually personally the idea that people can be shopping online for their parishes, and you know, this is the opportunity for someone to say, hey, I really like that church better, I'm going to go there, you know. So, but as a staff, we haven't talked about it, having a plan. I have a feeling we are quite a ways out from opening up completely.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when you said November, not guessing. Oh, go ahead, Emily.
I was just going to say, I think that is, I was just going to say, I think that there is some shopping online happening in terms of parishes, which is a very interesting trend, at least among the people I know. They're like, well, you know, I wasn't being fed at this particular parish for this particular reason. And in many ways, I think it's kind of renewed people too, when they do find a place that they feel they fit better. So what's interesting to me is watching those them welcome new people who are completely brand new to the community. And some parishes are doing such a great job. I mean, as you guys know, I work for the Catholic Cemetery, so I can only speak to that part as a parishioner because we're just set up differently for how we do our programming. But yeah, it's been fascinating to watch parishes kind of take the really wonderful steps at bringing in the new members that they're seeing come in. So, and I have to say, I think I'm guilty of that too. I found a new parish where I was at one and it was fine, but it was one I'd been at for a long time. And, you know, I just wasn't quite growing as a person, and found a new place. So I applaud all the efforts of the staff people who have done so much to make people who are new to their communities feel welcome. So I think it's, but yeah, it's a very interesting topic for us when we're trying to welcome people back. We're looking at doing our events still online. So we'll probably be doing a event for parish cemeterians, our seminars, our annual seminars, and that'll probably be online, probably over the winter. Usually we did in September, October, but we just thought, you know, with everything going on in parishes right now, you don't need another thing to have to worry about. So we'll do it over the winter because no one has to drive then to come and see us. So that's what we're planning on doing. But it's a good question, Molly, and it's nice to see you again.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, we can just open it up for open discussion. Does anyone have any, you know, like major, I can't say event because I don't think anyone's having a major event right now, but, you know, what's going on at your parishes right now? It's like I was saying earlier when we were checking in, it's a little quiet here. I'm really enjoying the lack of so many events and things going on. The only thing new that I'm just starting to work on, two things, is our stewardship renewal marketing materials, that getting that finished and off to the press, and then we are getting all of our online faith formation posted, and our faith formation ministers are all creating their own content and using like supporting videos that are already out there. So we're just going to be putting it in a password protected area of our website and sharing that with families, and it'll be just a lot of links and some information. So that's kind of what I am working on, but I'm just starting to get into that, and we don't open up for faith formation until I believe around the 1st of October. So, which seems like a long ways away, but it's only a month.
Well, I have a couple things, I guess, I could start with. For those of you who kind of tuned in last month, we mentioned a bit about a survey, a communication survey we were doing, and I feel a lot of you probably turned it in because we got over 70% of the parishes responding, which I gotta say, we really need to have like more things we send to parish communicators. You know, you want someone to respond, man. But so it was really great. It'll be, I know that Julie Craven wasn't really able to join us today, so she's gonna, she said she'd be willing to kind of crunch the Excel sheet and really see what the trends were and so forth. But, you know, I did see online giving was up. There were some, obviously video calls were still very big. I think it was some diversity in the way that different devotionals were celebrated. Like we know Mass was celebrated in different ways, but some different types of devotionals. That was also interesting. And I don't know, in general, I think you could kind of figure out that, yeah, some things would be up and some things would be down, but it'll be interesting just to look a little bit more again at the percentages. Like I think the one I saw the biggest leap on was YouTube. And I think it was very similar with us. Like we were always trying to feed our Facebook page a little bit and kind of going in. So, you know, you could see some growth in the Facebook page, but we kind of always backburnered YouTube, despite the fact that it's like one of the world's largest search engines. And then this really brought that to the forefront about the importance of having YouTube and just the fact that not everybody likes Facebook. So, you know, something to consider when you're looking at the places that you're streaming. So anyways, that was kind of the biggest leap just in a very top level review that I saw. So that was the first thing I wanted to mention. And then Melissa, do I have the capability to share my screen right now if I want to show a couple things?
I believe so.
Okay, I'm going to try it because there were two other things I wanted to show. Okay, great. So some of you, and I know Sean was actually in on one of these meetings, you kind of found out a little bit about what we're doing on the Archdiocesan Synod this fall. So I just wanted to give you guys an update in case you kind of hadn't heard from your DREs or just if it hadn't come around then yet. So since we delayed the Synod for 1 year, we kind of ended up adding a year of preparation. So this is called the Year of the Church Prepares. And one of the biggest ways we're preparing is that if you're gonna discern the direction of the Archdiocese and if you're gonna pray about it, how do you pray? So learning to have a deeper prayer life is gonna help everybody in praying together and moving us forward. So, so Archbishop Hebda, he announced the focus areas. So that was one thing to kind of note. But then what I wanted to mention particularly for this group was the fall series. Now, it's nothing that you have to promote in your parishes because year 3 will be the parish small groups. That's going to be a lot more parish intensive. But if you're looking for some formative programming that's going to require no work on your part other than promoting it, that we have some really good talks that we've been working on. One of them is a Praying with Scripture series. The bishops are tackling those, and then a Healing and Hope series. And the thought behind the healing is just after what our Archdiocese has been through. Even though I don't think that was one of the resounding themes that came up in all the prayer and listening events, it's you can't ignore the fact that we've gone through so much and that healing is needed. So those are the two things we're focusing on here. What I'm really excited about is the fact that we're partnering with My Parish app to offer a Synod app. So it's available right now. Some of you are already using My Parish app at your parishes, but anyone can download My Parish app and visit the Archdiocesan Synod. And the videos and all the materials, including a prayer companion with guided reflections, they're all going to be loaded right on the app so that folks can participate in that way. So we're super excited about that. With that, we also are moving, and I mentioned this to a couple folks, that we're moving over to Evangelus. So we did make the leap on some of our communications, and that's the email and text messaging arm of My Parish app. And since we made that move, then they have a deal going on now for parishes that I wanted to bring up. This is not in the most aesthetic format at the moment, but I wanted to make sure everyone was aware that if you have not tried the app before, if you're looking for an email or text message solution, or if you just want to participate in the Synod series in this way, because what happens is if you wanted to use this app for your parish, we can put the buttons with all this content right on your own parish app. So folks don't need to leave your parish to go participate in the program. They can get videos and all the resources right on your on your own parish app. So it's like you're running the program. So this is just the pricing, just so that you can kind of get a look at it. The parish or the synod programming, one of the series begins September 13th. Another one begins October 18th. So you can sign up at any time, and then you can just kind of hit, if you wanted to move in that direction, anyone who signs up by November 1st can take advantage of the deals below. So basically it's entirely free the rest of the year. So even if you only want to try the app for the synod itself, and then if you don't think it's necessarily what you want to move forward with, you know, it's free for the end of the year. It's also free to try Evangelus for the rest of the year. So I know, Melissa, you were a little curious about that. If you just wanted to sign up and just to try it and see what you think, it is free through the end of 2020. And then they have the pricing. So the app is $37 a month for the next 2 years, and you can get the email and text messaging flat fee, which is huge. Doesn't raise no matter how many admins or messages or people you have on your list. Flat fee, $59 a month in 2021 and $79 a month for 2022. So I can send out this link to you guys after this. If you are interested, then you can kind of sign up and find out more. But I wanted to make sure I mentioned that just because we've been, you know, there's always some ups and downs with each type of technology. But what I've found is I've gotten a lot more people signing up for our list of evangelists this way, because what happens is when you upload someone to the list, they'll get a message saying, you know, complete your profile. And so people are kind of prompted. So they're notified that they're added to the list, which is really good from an, you know, just a, not a terms of use, but an opt-in sort of scenario. But what I'm finding is whenever folks go to complete their profile, they're signing up for a lot of different things. So these lists we haven't even launched really publicly yet. Like we had like over 100 folks sign up for the synod emails before I even really started saying we were going to have synod emails, and probably up to almost 300 right now. Same for men's ministry and other things that we've been doing. So I've really found that it's built organically faster than I had anticipated. So anyways, some things to keep in mind. If you ever want to talk to me more about it afterwards, let me know. The last thing I wanted to mention is this site, if you're not aware of it, nonprofitmarketingguide.com. I know they have free resources if you sign up for an account, but I went to maybe one of the best webinars I've ever been to. It's August 27th here. It was Level Up Your Nonprofit Marketing. And it just really clearly outlined the benefits of having someone in a full-time communications position, and frankly, even a small team in communications, and what different levels of kind of running your communications you can be at. Like there's, you know, basically someone hands you something and you're like, okay, great, I'll make a flyer. And then there's kind of all those next levels, like they start to trust you on what you can do so that you're the go-to person. Like they just say, this is what we want to promote. And then you as the marketing person can go in and you can say, you know, well, okay, this is what I think you're going to need. This is the campaign we're going to run, you know, and just those 5 levels. So unfortunately, it's kind of it's a lockdown site, and then it looks like they kind of trade things out. But the point I wanted to mention is that you can sign up for a free account on this website, and I am really excited to log in and see what resources they have, because just based on that one webinar, I thought it was fantastic. And I might even be able to, if I can, I'll try to find this thing I did a screenshot of, but I actually told the folks at the Archdiocese that it was, let's see, there we go, that I felt like, okay, maybe we're at like level 3 right now, but we needed to be at level 4. And that was where, again, folks can trust you with their branding. You know, it's not just that they you know, and think, well, maybe there's this or that, or, oh, I think I like this design better than maybe this design you came up with, or why did you think you needed to do it this way? You know, how, you know, maybe we need to work as a communications department moving in that direction a little more. And what was particularly interesting was the fact that they said your analytics you're doing don't really make that much of a difference unless you're already at that step 3 or step 4. And their point is that, you know, if you're going to use the data, you have to, I think, have that freedom to use it well. You have to be able to experiment. You have to be able to be willing to take chances, try one thing or try another. You need trust from your community to do that. Anyways, like I said, just without talking more, I probably talked too long already, but I would definitely encourage you to check that out. I'm really excited to dig into that some more.
Nichole, do you know if that webinar on the August 27th, is that, like, if we did go sign up for the free account, are we able to view that, or was that a free webinar? Or did you have to pay for that?
Yeah, it was a free webinar, but you know what? I do have the email for the gal who presented. So I will email her and see if we can still watch that and share that. And I'll just tell her, you know, obviously I really enjoyed it and just wanted to know if that would still be available. So I'll check in with that.
That'd be great. And then I just want to piggyback on what you had said about Evangelus and the My Parish app. I just wanted to ask the question, how do you feel now that you've worked in Flocknote and Evangelus? How do they compare? And specifically, what I love Flocknote, aside from the fact that it's really hard to remove people without kind of a lot of like work going in and individually removing people. Like, I found that it was really easy to remove individuals in constant contact, but Flocknote, it's a little harder. Like, you get in there and it's hard to get people out. So how does Evangelus compare?
Well, I think let's see. So I'll tell you kind of in a general term, and then I'll kind of go down to that specific thing. So really the reason why we ended up wanting to go with Evangelus was because well, first of all, you know, we really like the guys that run it with My Parish app. I definitely think that they have the mission in mind. Not that Flocknote doesn't, but they've specifically made it so that they're trying to make it as accessible to parishes as possible. And as you know, from any pricing on Constant Contact or any others, like if you're going to charge $59 a month for texting and email and not charge by the person, I mean, you're probably not making a ton of money on this, right? And so I think that they've really done the best that they can to try to make it accessible. So with that in mind, I wanted to check out the product. It's still new in some ways to the market, but in the fact that, you know, maybe you'll notice a bug or here or there, then they'll come out the next week or next month and it'll be fixed. But what I'm really liking is just, it seems like it's very easy to train on, and which is good, because when we've been sending out these text messages for the COVID anointing corps, I've had to train about 8 to 10 people, just lay folks, nurses, to be able to send out text messages, and they've really been able to do so very smoothly. So I like it from that standpoint. The designer has been fun. There's some basic things that you can do just to kind of pull it over and just pull things together pretty quickly. So, if you're one that likes to customize a lot, they do have kind of an HTML editor, but I think in general, if you're just looking to put something together that looks nice and aesthetic, it's pretty quick. And then probably the last thing that was the reason from a scalable standpoint that I liked it, aside from the fact, again, it's a flat fee, which I really like the fact that you're not being penalized for having more people join your list. But just the fact that you can craft the one message and then you can edit it for the different platforms. And I can't remember, did I ever show this group how that works?
I don't remember. No,
Maybe I didn't. But I mean, I can show you in just a moment. But that was kind of one of the things that I liked the most about it, because if you're talking about getting different ministries involved, you can literally, well, I'll just pull it up so that I can show you. Share screen. Here we go. So this is the inside of it's very similar to Flocknote. So you'd have your compose over here, and then you have groups, messages, and templates. The same way with Flocknote, you can have groups, and then you have subgroups underneath. So for instance, on our marriage, family, and life group, we would have the respect life, we'd have things like that underneath that same group. Here, I just see it on my screen, so it just reminds me, but this is a perfect example. So we had one person out of Center for Mission who was starting to join a Care for Creation group a few months ago. And he didn't do anything with the group. He just wanted a placeholder for it for his planning team, and they were going to build their list as they went along. Well, they finally got to the point that he had like 78 people or 80 people who were just coming to our site and signed up for Care for Creation because it sounded interesting. And I'm like, you got to send a message out. You can't leave as many people here and not communicate with them. So we finally sent out the first message just saying, welcome, but that was never what he intended, at least not this early. But now all of a sudden they have a following that they can communicate with. anyways, but yeah, so they have these groups here, and you can see your members on the side. You can see the messages. It's simple stats. So I think that, I think you'll probably find more in-depth statistics if you go with a Constant Contact or a MailChimp, but it'll at least tell you how many people opened, how many people clicked, and it gives you an option now that you can automatically like resend to everyone who didn't open it the first time, which I think is kind of a cool little trick. But then the other thing is that when you're sending it, when you're sending it, there's, here I can show you actually under settings. So each of them has, that's the other thing. So you don't pay per keyword either. For each group, you have one text to join term that's automatically included.
That would be nice.
Yeah. So, so again, if you talk about scalable, if I'm talking about every archdiocese in office and maybe even outside groups, right? I'm not going to want to pay $4 a word per month, right? No, everybody gets their own text to join keyword. Everybody gets their own URL where people can sign up online. And you can have as many group admins if you want. You can link your parish app. You can link to any Facebook page or group, and yes, they can be different. The only thing I found is that if you're, for example, if you're running multiple pages, I think it kind of changes you. So for instance, Cami, my coworker, she had to sign up for the evangelization one on her group because I was already signed in on the Archdiocese on my group. But I mean, generally speaking, you know, people who have their own Facebook pages and Facebook groups. So I can, like in Marriage, Family, and Life here, if I go under settings, I'm posting as the Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis, and then the message can be tailored and then go onto Facebook. And then on evangelization here, I have, my internet picks up here, 1 second. There we go. Then she's posting on the Rediscover Faith page. So you can, if you have ministry groups, then they can post on their own Facebook pages as well. Same thing with Twitter. And on the website, then this is just an RSS feed. So when you actually post a message, you can embed that RSS feed. So like if you have a youth ministry page and you want your messages to pop up on that page, you can embed one feed on the youth ministry page, one page on the Respect Life page, or one feed on the Respect Life page, and so forth. So what that looks like when you're sending a message here is, I'll kind of show you with, let's see. You can go from here we go. This is kind of a draft format, but I can kind of show you from an archdiocesan update standpoint. So you go in there and then you can click which group you want to send to. Continue. This is where you design it. So you have just some real simple blocks, a button creator with some different stylings, things along those lines. So for example, if you wanted to link it, if you wanted to edit it, you could kind of choose the different templates, or you could kind of change the color and the size and stuff on your end. But then when you're ready to send, you would just preview it, and this is where you can edit it. So this is what the email looks like. This is what the text message looks like, but you can change this text and you can make it a bit different. The app, same if with Facebook was connected, then you would have Facebook, Twitter, and then the RSS feed as well. So yeah, so that's why we thought it's a pretty cool product. And it was really designed for folks that maybe just didn't have a lot of time. And so that way you can just, you can do one message, you can word it out in different ways. But if you're at the level of communications where you're personalizing, you can really edit that message for each of your social media audiences. And you can, again, put it out on the different channels. And specifically, I think, you can make that invitation a little bit more affordably by having that text to join for each of them. So anyways, that's a quick little overview, but those are the reasons why we ended up trying to try it on our end here.
I'm very interested because we've been paying, I think our rate is about $155 a month just for Flocknote. And, but my question to you is how difficult, okay, so we've been, it's been a few years with Flocknote. And so we finally feel like our parishioners understand this is our e-news tool, and I think they kind of understand how it works. My fear is how would I move everyone over to Evangelus without mass chaos again.
Right. And yeah, and I will say it kind of depends on are you using kind of Flocknote's landing page, like having folks log in and see past messages and things like that? Or is it primarily just for push communications?
Well, for push communications for our e-news, which has been really, really well received, and we've been running around 55% open rate, and that's to about, I believe about 1,500 people or individual e-news or email addresses open it each week, which is really high. I hate to, I don't want to wreck that, but we do have like each of our councils have their own Flocknote group. We probably have, and then actually our faith formation ministry, every single catechist has their own Flocknote group. So we have like over 100 groups or more.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm glad they're using it so well. I think that was the only thing I noticed is because it's connected to an app that has a group messaging feature, if you're looking for member to member communication, it's not the platform for that. The app in their world, the app is the platform for the member to member group communication. If it's like one person communicating to a big group, that's what Evangelus is for. So I think that's one thing that when you talk about the number of groups that might make a difference from a transition standpoint. The fact that it's that everyone does get a notification when you're uploaded. When you upload, it's funny. I introduced it in Arch Update, and I introduced it in my reminder email for folks submitting to Arch Update, telling them about it. And then I sent out the alert, and then everyone's like, "Wait, why did I get added to this list? What's this about?" And in a way, it almost does you a favor because it's not that all of a sudden they get something from Cox Christie that doesn't look like it normally looks like, and they think it's spam and they start blocking you or something, right? It kind of gives you a notification, and it gives them enough of an idea that, oh, I should check into this, right? That being said, you would still want to set it up and say, well, this is what we're doing and so forth. So, yeah, it might be more of from the folks who are using it. It might be more of something about, from their standpoint, how would they feel about changing, and again, how are they using it? I think it's very easy to learn. And when I presented it to a couple of the other offices trying to get off of MailChimp, they were happy to do so. They saw it, they're like, this looks great. Yeah, we'll definitely move over. But yeah, if you're using it for like we do, like member to member on Flocknote, that's not what that's built for. So that would be one thing to keep in mind.
Because we do have, with all these different groups that we have, the beauty of it is they kind of have this like chat, the side chat, right? I mean, just like our group does, people respond,
Yep.
You have this little chat and, it's documented and you go back. So that's
more like where they would do that on the app is what they say. That's more of where they would do app messaging. So it almost feels more like text messaging back and forth. And so that's how they would say is that's where their back and forth communication was, and Evangelus was more for pushing that communication out. So they do it a little bit more. I've noticed that Flocknote tends to try to have it all together and then like everything on the one platform and then add-ons. Like, okay, now we're going to be a database, but you can buy this and then you can do that. And we have this group messaging, but we also have this component. So they focused on, okay, if we're going to do push notifications, we're going to do it really well through this program. And then if you want, group communication, we're going to do it well through the app. And then they also have a database from a related company that's not related to any of the evangelists, but they say, well, if you want a parish database, you do this, right? So that's a little bit of the thing where I think you would just have to weigh if they're using it that way. Do you think there'd be too much of a learning curve to communicate on the app? Is it worth it to introduce it to a few folks and see what they think, and maybe they could get more buy-in?
So we just started the My Parish app last fall before Evangelus had come out, and we rolled it out to our faith formation groups first, just to get them using it and test out bugs and stuff like that. And then it ended up being like our music ministry uses it. Everyone else is like, hey, I heard so and so's using this. Can we create a group for my group? And it's gone over really well, and it was such a blessing to have it. When everything shut down because of the ability to do the push notifications. And now we have a separate app or like tab on the app that has our worship aid, so people can use their phone. We're encouraging people to use their phone in mass, so that we don't have the paper worship aids. And they can literally access our worship aids, our bulletin. I upload our bulletin to the app every week. Yeah, it's just, and I need to still call them and get this synod added to our
Sure.
to ours. But it's great. It's
No
all
worries, no worries.
customizable. You know, the background image is I chose an image that basically it makes it so looks like you're looking at our altar. Everything's totally customizable, and we have loved it. Have had such positive feedback from members. So I'm interested. That's next on my list is to look at the Evangelus and see. I'm not sure with school starting and everything how excited people are to train on something new, but I thought I maybe would test it out this fall and just play around with it and see how it works, because it'd be a lot less expensive for us to couple using Evangelist and the My Parish app as one bill versus we currently use Constant Contact. So it would say, I mean, it's not a lot. I think it would end up saving us $10 a month or something, but.
And
Right, and a couple of benefits. Oh yeah.
oh, I was just saying, and I know I've said this a few times, but I don't know if everyone's heard, but this next month, so October is going to be our first month to print our bulletin, which is actually our monthly magazine, with Diocesan, who owns My Parish app, and Evangelus. And what I was told from my contact, Brian Bastick at Diocesan, when we first talked about this, he said that because I'm a bulletin printer with him, we get the My Parish app for free if we want. I haven't talked to him about it since, so I'm not sure if that's still true, but he did say that at one point that it would be free to us. So
Nice. Yeah. Well, and again, and it was free for the rest of the year too for anyone who wants to try it either way. So no, I think that's really great. I should remember what I was going to mention now. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that, Brittany. I'm glad that was that was working well. I see something from Jen here. So St. Bridget's, oops, the chat go. Sign up and move groups over. So are the groups better in Evangelist or in the app? Oh, and so Jen, the difference would be that if you want like member to member communication, or if you want to do just mostly that you're going to be pushing out communication. So in one way it's kind of nice, like people can kind of have that choice, like they can get push notifications on the app. Like for instance, I'm for Immaculate Conception where my girls go to school. I get notifications on the app for what's going on, and then I also get emails just because I like getting all the information. But you can choose if you want to kind of use notifications on the app and emails and text messages, and then just kind of how to go about it. But the primary thing is that for the groups, if you want members to be able to communicate with one another back and forth, like a conversation, you would want to keep the groups on the app. If you're just looking for someone who is able to send out messages to their audiences, you can design things in Evangelist so that they're more like email newsletters, and then you can also do text messages. And the nice thing is that then people can choose how they want to receive it. So they can say, I want to get emails from this group and text messages from this group. And they can kind of do things along those lines. Oh, Melissa, you mentioned about removing members. So I've been able to in general, I think they're still working a bit on how to kind of upload and remove and things like that. Like you can find the members, you can usually upload them, but you have to they have a CSV template, and you kind of copy and paste your stuff in and upload it. Usually it works okay. But the nice thing about it is even if you're having trouble, they have a really quick turnaround. So like they'll upload it for you. They can take care of a lot of this stuff for you. And frankly, if you're signing on and you just wanted to bring in all your contacts, they automatically do a data clean for you, which I think they said that people almost asked if they could start just so they could do that. Because what they'll go through is they'll find all the email addresses that are incorrect, that are not formatted. They'll find all the phone numbers that are actually landline and not mobile, so that you don't accidentally put them in for text messaging and things like that. So there's so they are really good to work with to really make sure that your data is clean before you start communicating.
Just to touch base on the groups, when we're on the app, they have it set up so that if you wanted someone to just sign up, like they could go through and select which groups they want to be a part of, but you can also make them private so that if they want to join, let's just say like the preschool and kindergarten faith formation, you can set it up where you have to accept them into the group. So that way it can keep your communication private. So you don't have just somebody that, shouldn't be part of a group. And it allows you to go through the group and clean it up. So every year like our faith formation group is going to be able to go through and be like, oh, yep, they're still registered, so we don't need to remove them. But those that have maybe graduated or those that are no longer part of the preschool kindergarten, they're now elementary, they can go through and remove them from the group so that they're not receiving communication that they don't need to receive.
Question, and maybe you, Nichole, haven't used it enough to know this, but one of the problems we've had with Flocknote is occasionally people will get blocked, you know, like their spam filter picks it up, and after it picks it up so many times, it stops sending them emails. And I have not been able to like regroup them. Like I've deleted them, put them back in. They've checked, you know, and we have an older population, so whether or not sometimes they understand the whole spam thing maybe is part of it. But, you know, we've had like catechists who we've had to put in several emails because all of a sudden it'll be fine for like year. I mean, we've used it for a long time. So it was great for years. And all of a sudden one day it started getting picked up by a spam filter. And I like have not been able to rectify that even with Flocknote. Have you had any issues with that? Or, I mean,
No, that's so surprising. Yeah, because I was not, I mean, I knew things that were like more commonly used, like, you know, MailChimp or Flocknote or Constant Contact. I knew that those were a little bit more on the radar for spam filters. I had no idea that Flocknote had gotten recognized like that. So no, I think it's too new to realize that. I think they use a similar approach where there's like one email address you can add. Sorry, it's a little noisy now. That you can add to your email group. So I think, yeah, I guess the short answer is I don't know yet, but I like the fact that they send a notification to let you know that you're being added to a group. So this should not be, it doesn't come across as that much of a surprise to folks, and it allows them to ask questions or unsubscribe right there versus kind of block you when you're trying to send messages.
okay. The nice part, I think, is that because it's free, you could actually run a dual system. So, you know, for a month or two.
We are still doing that, actually. We have Latino Ministry is using Flocknote, and that is the one thing right now they don't have. I mean, you can put Spanish in your messages, but they don't have the Spanish text to join auto message, which is a small thing, but it's beneficial. So we have not moved our Latino Ministry over yet, so it still allows us to try a little bit of both of them. I've liked overall what I've seen thus far.
Since I think you guys are you guys recording this? Maybe just that little clip where Nichole walked through some of the Evangelus things would be nice to send out, because I'd like to show this. Primarily it's our faith formation. We're the group that does most of our communicating. So it'd be nice to be able to clip that to show it to the other people who are using it a lot, because I'm excited about the fact that we can do it across different platforms and customize it.
Okay.
So, but I think if we could get that little chunk, that would be nice to be able to show people rather than go on there and look around.
Okay. I will do that.
Yeah, and if that's not possible, honestly, Sean, if you wanted to just say, hey, can you schedule 10 minutes to pull up a Zoom? I can certainly do that too. I mean, that's kind of how we train people in 5 or 10 minutes for sending out messages. So it's real easy just to kind of show them personally too.
Does anyone have an app that's not My Parish app? Like
We did use the one from the ministry brands that was free through the giving. It's called E360 Giving, at least for us. But you know, Ministry Brands owns a lot, so you know you could have actually through ParishSoft they sell the same platform that I purchased through a different company. So anyway, they had offered a free app. At this point, anyway, it's free. And I have just a few people testing it, and it's definitely not being used like a communication tool that you're talking about with My Parish app, which I think would be more beneficial. So I'm not sold on it. You know, but she loves it because she can see the bulletin on her phone. So, well, that's one person. And we have an older parish.
This is what I found with it. It is focused strictly on fundraising. You can't have separate groups. Every message goes to every single person. You can hook up if you're using church streaming TV, which we are, so everyone gets a push notification if they have the app that mass is about to begin, which is nice. You can do registrations, all your registrations on the app, but it's not a communications app. It's a sign up and pay your bill app.
And that's through through Parish?
Parasoft, yeah,
Okay.
and it's free. It is free, but it's cumbersome. I mean, you can put it together. It's like Legos. But you have to do all the work yourself. But it does work. But it's limited in what it does.
Okay.
You just have to know that.
I was just going to jump in earlier, but I unmuted too late. That Evangelus just signing up from St. Bridget's. We are really grateful to. There's a lady named Heidi there that was helping us with signing up, or helping me with signing up. And then she directed me to a website where there's a lot of training videos. So there might even be a video already that could be sent, not the one that we just saw, but that was helpful too. More helpful actually than the little bit of training I got already. So just to know that their customer service is great over there.
Jen, where was that training video? Was it like on YouTube? They have like a playlist of them, or was it on their site? Or
it was on their site. It was on their site.
Okay.
And when I get to work, I'm on my way to work. So when I get to work, I can send you that link.
Okay, that'd be great. All right. Anything else that we want to talk about?
What was the, was there a email for the Evangelist to get the deal, or is that just a deal they have going on for everybody? Or is it just through the Archdiocese because we're here?
Nichole, let's see. I'm not sure if she's still on right now. You know what? I will check it out.
I think if you mention the Archdiocese, there was something that she had sent that came through, and I think you just call Evangelus and mention that you're part of the Minneapolis Archdiocese,
Okay.
and they're supposed to give you.
Okay.
Because they
When I
also did the same
called,
thing
or
with the.
When I messaged her, couple weeks ago, I emailed Evangelus. His name was Mike, and he got me all set up. He had to talk to our parish administrator to get the credit card because we already have the My Parish app. And so he stopped the charges for the My Parish app for the rest of the year and put in Evangelus. And then it'll be like a $5 or $10 difference to have Evangelus now. We did not have an email program at all, so that's why mainly why we're adding it, because it was just something you all recommended, and then I figured it's with the diocese, and with the app, so then hopefully it'll be easier to use that, and because they're so helpful about the emails and the text phone numbers to help us narrow that all out. So.
Okay, I'll gather as much information and send that out with the video.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I had to step away for a little bit and I heard my name. Was there any questions that anyone had that I could answer?
I think they were just asking if a link or some information went out about the deal that Evangelus was offering for the free trial. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I posted it on the Facebook group, but I can definitely send it out to the Flock note as well. And I'm trying to remember if I had it in Arch Update, but if not, then I can have it in this next one. So I'll do both of those.
Does anyone use the My Parish app and Flock note? I know I've found some churches that do, but I don't know if anyone's on here right now. I'm just trying to, because I'm really intrigued with the idea of using the app for, like Brittany was saying, the idea of having like paperless bulletins in Mass and the push notifications, but not quite ready to leave Flock notes. So I'm trying to.
I find that you're always balancing between putting all your eggs in one basket and keeping your eggs in separate baskets because they all change basket holders, you know? So, you know, like you invest in one company for one experience, but that's because they do that really well. And that's what it sounds like is, you know, you're looking for somebody who does something really well, and it's always a give and take. Is that something that they do well, multiple somethings, or do they really only do one thing well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Melissa, I feel like some people had mentioned that before because they didn't have an email and text message solution before this. So I think really there are probably several parishes that did. I can't remember right now. I know Holy Name has the app, but I don't think they use Flocknote. I think they use Constant Contact. And but I felt like there might have been a few. And maybe that could be another, you know, it could be a continued conversation in the Flocknote group as well on, you know, kind of the pros and cons. But
when I was up at St. Vincent, we used the app and Flocknote. We did both. And we were just slowly getting Flocknote out for a mass parish communication, but we were using it for religious ministry and some of like the small group ministry programs that we had. And it was great because then they used the app for sometimes their own like feed and conversations that they had. So they could post, hey, we have a meeting coming up, or we have this coming up, because you can do groups in the app. And that seemed to work really well for us. It didn't seem to be, it was two different companies. So.
Okay, good to know. Right now I have so many, you know, council members or ministry lead people that they just don't understand the process for getting things out. Like they have all these different options and they just don't understand the process. And I fear adding one more in there, you know. Anything else on that? I do have a question about ParishSoft. Anyone that uses ParishSoft, does anyone use their dashboard for where parishioners can actually go in, log in, make their own updates to their address or email, all their old, you know, own contact information? Does anyone use that?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that? Because we don't, and we tried just rolling it out to a very small group. I think it was just one of our councils about 3 or 4 years ago, and it didn't go well. And I heard that just ParishSoft just wasn't ready for that. So can you tell me how that's going now?
I guess it was never a focus. I just, we paid for that service, right? And we did tell people about it. And I think, again, I have an older parish as well. I think people weren't necessarily interested in anything, changing anything. So what I found is that incredibly, I have probably a lot more people using it who are new members. So we have it on our website as a place for you to join the parish. So instead of turning in a piece of paper to join the parish, I'd say most of the new members are now joining the parish through the online registration process, in which then they have an account and they can change everything, you know, and look at everything and stuff like that. So it's increased in usage only because of the new people. So I'd say of the current members, nobody kind of went to it, but they can, and it's there. And if anybody asks or whatever, I just say that. So if they're interested, they'll find it. But that's how it's been more effective, is bringing in new people. I immediately have all their contact information, and then it goes right through our process of which lists they join and stuff like that.
Okay. Do you know how much it costs a year?
I know no, I don't have the breakdown because we're paying for so much. We're paying for we're paying for ParishSoft, we're paying for the inquiries, we're paying for the ministry scheduler, even though we're not using it. So it's probably, I don't know, an average of one of those.
Okay. All right. We are just starting October 1st, we're starting a census, a parish-wide census. And we're thinking that once we gather the information, maybe we would roll out some kind of a dashboard to maintain and keep the information updated. But we haven't done a census since like 2008. So we desperately need to do that. So
We just went through that process here at Incarnation. We took COVID as an opportunity to kind of reach out to everyone. And so we had 50 or 60 of our fire parishioners go and just call every person. And then what we did for those that we didn't hear from is we created a postcard mailer that we could send out with Heidi that information on how to go in and change your information so that they weren't returning anything back unless they wanted to. And there was a postcard in there, but they would have to put their own stamp on it because it's just saving funds. And I haven't checked yet this week, but as of last week, we had almost 100 people that had logged into that dashboard and put their information in and changed quite a few that we just weren't able to get a hold of because the phone number was default or email address was written wrong. And we've changed some of our registration stuff in general to be more digital, so you're not having to read through people's handwritings. But I'd highly recommend kind of that when you do your first wave, have an ability for them to get online and enter their information on their own, because we found that to be so many people are on these things all the time and they just go in and they type it in and they're used to doing that in so many platforms that it's kind of second nature. And we obviously in Florida have a very older population and they were still willing to do that. So
Really?
I just found that to be helpful to have that infrastructure already up and ready so that they could enter that.
Yeah, our plan is to initially, the first few months is to really push it out digitally and hope for as much of a response as possible. And then the last ditch effort will be to go snail mail, postcard, and then probably actually calling them. But Molly, do you know what kind of a percentage of members you've heard from? Everyone keeps asking me what kind of expectations I have, and I mean I want 100%, but
yeah, unfortunately no. So I've done this twice. We did this at St. Vincent de Paul too, and both of the times I would say we probably were able to actually physically talk to around probably 40 to 50% of our parishioners, and then another 15 to 20% we heard from afterwards. And that about makes sense if you haven't done a census in a while. I mean, I know at St. Vincent's, they hadn't done one in 10 years. So the fact that there's probably 700 to 800 households that are really no longer active members doesn't surprise any of us. Down here, it was about the same numbers, although we have a snowbird population that we're dealing with too. So oftentimes their registration information gives us their Florida address and phone number, not necessarily their out-of-state address and phone number. So we're waiting to kind of do another push in January when our snowbird population comes back down, and then to see where we are after that all wraps up. The nice thing about ParishSoft is that what we found is that when we were able to move them from active registered to just inactive registered. So they came off of the CFA, they came off of the envelopes, they came off of some of those, but we had a couple, I know at St. Vincent, that would call and they'd want to bring someone for burial, or they want to sign their kid up for faith formation, for confirmation, and we haven't heard from them. It was so easy just to flip them back over to active, and they had no idea that we moved them. And so it was easy to flip them back in without deleting all their information. Right. So that process went well for us. So 50%, Melissa, maybe 70.
All right, we'll shoot for that. And how big of a parish are you at, or what kind of?
We have 3,600 households right now in the book here at Incarnation. Okay. And I have a feeling when we're all said and done, it'll be closer to about 28.
That's what I'm thinking, because we're at like 3,450, and I bet we're under 3,000 households for sure.
It just is it just takes time. And then you have to enter all that data and do all that. That was a nice piece to have it ready so people could go in and enter it themselves.
Right.
But when we talked to them to write some of that information down, we were able to have some of that too. So, and during COVID, again, we took the opportunity just to reach out, especially to some of our elderly parishioners, to let them know, hey, we're still here. We still care about you. So I know some people that had 2-hour-long conversations because the poor person on the other end just felt so isolated. So that process was really life-giving for our parish.
Yeah. Did you have a way to, like a checkbox or something in ParishSoft to keep track of who you heard back from, so that you knew that their information was updated?
So what I did is I literally exported everything into an Excel worksheet. And then I split up in groups of 20 and emailed that Excel of 20 to the people that were making the phone calls. So they could go in and enter it. And then when they email me back, I can compare it with the larger list. And then I just had a checkbox, talk to them, disconnected, and a spot where they could type some notes. So sometimes we put people on like a prayer list. We had some that wanted to have visits from our homebound community ministers. We had people that needed to be anointed. So we were able then to gauge some of those ministry pieces too. And so I just had like a comment spot on that Excel spreadsheet. And that worked really well because most people have Excel and most people know how to use it. Even some of our older parishioners, you just type it in and it worked out really well.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we're thinking. We're going to have to do is just export everyone that we want to hear from, and then kind of start removing them from that list and making notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think you could also create a group, a family work group of people who responded, and then you can run a report quickly of those who aren't in the family work group or those who didn't respond.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that too. It just seems like an Excel spreadsheet would be just a quick at a glance instead of, looking at the different groups. All right. Anything else? What else is going on? Anyone starting stewardship renewal? Or anyone have some, I'm sure I think a lot of us have, not me, but a lot of you have schools starting up soon. Anyone want to share what's going on there?
Yeah, I can real quickly. Our school is starting back next Tuesday, and we are, there's a separate preschool, but it's a K through 6. I will say our numbers are way up this year, which is wonderful. Especially kindergarten and first grade, they've got 2 sections of each of those. They've been working, to make sure that everything is clean. It's really amazing when you hear about the things they're putting in place and how quickly. The teachers have been back now for I think 2 weeks, getting everything ready, and yeah, it'll be different, but I think it'll be great. So they're looking forward to that.
Are you guys thinking, so Alyssa from St. Stephen's in Anoka, so we also have a K through 8th grade, and we are seeing that our enrollment numbers are up too. Are you guys starting to think about if next calendar year the public schools open back up, how are you going to retain some of those new families? Have you thought about any of your communications or marketing there?
That's a good question. I'm actually don't really do the communications and marketing on the school side, but I would be happy to parlay that. I'm not sure that they've gotten that far yet. Yeah, but that's,
and we haven't either.
Right. Yeah, certainly. I think everyone will probably be thinking that same thing. Yeah, so I can certainly get the contact information, and if nothing else, it's just great for to have a group to share that back and forth. And I'd imagine too, like Holy Name, St. there's lots of schools out there that'll probably be doing the same thing. So
yeah, we start, it's a 4 or 5 short months away from starting to push re-enrollment or enrollment for the following year. And so that was a topic that was brought up yesterday. What are we going to do to maintain some of those or retain some of those families and maintain some of those higher enrollment numbers, because it is, it's very good for us to have those higher school numbers.
Yeah, Alyssa, I'll just say sorry, Colin really wants to weigh in. No, I was just say as a parent, and actually we're up in the Anoka Hennepin School District. Our kids actually go to Immaculate Conception because I'm in Fridley. But I mean, the big difference that we saw, and then you guys can, I think, really, you can play in your favor is, you really are invested in the families. You're working hard for the business. So maybe the best way to look at it is that these aren't like just new families. These are prospective families for the entire year. So the same way you would like follow up with like a new family as they're trying to make that decision, keep in mind that they're going to probably still be making the decision this entire year whether they're actually going to just stay here for the year or whether they're going to move
Yep.
when they're done. And it kind of in the
Yep.
same way with preschools, right? Like a lot of people do Catholic preschool instead of daycare, and then when they're going into kindergarten, you have to try to retain them for kindergarten. You know, and I think I would just kind of view it the same way. And that's one of the real tipping points of why we chose Catholic school, was because Catholic schools worked so hard and saw us as individual families. They wanted us there, and so just continue to show the value that your school brings, and viewing just maybe it on that level. I don't know if you need anything that's a really big campaign aside from the fact of just continuing to view it in that way. You're still trying to earn their business. That's kind of
Yep.
the simple way of it.
Yeah, so coming from the corporate world, one of the things, we were a medium-sized company, but I had a very small marketing team, so efficiency was the biggest thing for us. And so I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Digital Marketer. It's a website and an online portal where you can access some resources. But they have it's their value journey worksheet, and it's similar to, Nichole, I think what you were talking about, like, you start, almost, they call it the aware stage. So someone's not familiar with your brand, not familiar with your services or products, and you want to move them with every touch point, with every communication, and through obviously every campaign. You want to move them eventually along this journey to where they're an advocate or a promoter of your brand. So they're heavily invested in all of the services or products that you're offering. So this was a great tool. It's a visual aid where I used it a lot to talk to our executive leadership team on, maybe they weren't marketing experts. They had a lot of great ideas. But this was a visual aid to show them, like, okay, so this campaign, we want to move people from, they've subscribed to some of our offerings, our email, newsletter, what have you. We want to convert them so they're actively, in this situation, coming to our parish. Or this type of campaign, we have to make them aware of the idea that we have a preschool in the school. So I would say if anybody has time, check out digitalmarketer.com. Some of their resources aren't going to be applicable to our situation. It's a lot of, obviously, for profit product promotion. But I love their value journey worksheet, and I always had success using it to visually show people this is what we're doing for a campaign, and this is the journey we're trying to pull people through so that they're really invested in what we have to offer. My other question was, do you guys does anyone, once someone signs up or has been exposed in some digital format to your church or your school, do you have a drip campaign of a welcome campaign, if you will, or does anyone have thoughts around that?
We have we have a director of engagement who reaches out to new members that sign up, and she's really good at that. She will, everyone that walks in the door or calls, she will have a conversation about our parish, and she kind of finds out like what their interests and talents are, and she calls them their passions, and then she directs them to our on our website. We have this called Serve, and there's like maybe 20 different like areas where she tries to get them plugged in and involved like right away. But she's new in the last little over a year now, and before that we had a director of stewardship, but she didn't like touch every single person. She did a great job, but our new one actually like has that personal conversation with everyone, and I feel like it makes such a huge difference because she kind of gets to know them and really finds out immediately like what their interests are and kind of tries to get them plugged in, and I think they have a better experience. As far as marketing goes, though, we don't have any kind of a campaign.
I was just noticing in our constant contact, when someone signs up for our newsletter, we send them a welcome email, but that's kind of the last touch point. So, and our systems are not talking currently whether they are a new parishioner versus just signing up for the newsletter. So my thought around that was, kind of creating almost like a 3-step drip campaign. Okay, so you sign up for a newsletter, you're receiving it on a weekly basis, but automatically within the next couple weeks, you'd get another email hopefully with a video talking about some of our group ministries or other things that they could get involved with. So I love that your director of engagement is personally following up, but in a digital format, could we do that automatically through a drip campaign, if you will? Okay, cool. Thanks.
I have a question. This is Jen from St. Bridget's in Lindstrom. My question to the parish administrator, being new and not being, I don't know if you'll remember, I'm not from the Catholic Church. I'm actually a pastor's wife of an evangelical church. But so my question, in the last couple weeks ago, I started watching some seminars from Engage. It was an Engage seminar. And it's pretty much how do you retain who you get, and so who visits. And so my question to our parish administrator, who used to be in the position I'm in, what's the process or steps from visiting, the first visit, to when they sign up to be a parish member? And everybody kind of looks at me like I'm nuts. Just like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, like, do you have any kind of contact thing? And they used to have a Pew like sign-in form or something, but of course with COVID they don't have that anymore. So that's the only thing that they said that they had. So I just wondered if anybody else does anything from new visitors, how to retain them.
You know, it's one of those things. I don't know if I looked at the same one. It sounds really familiar. It could have been through one of the church marketing groups that I follow as well. But yeah, we years and years ago started kind of with the hospitality focus on the Archdiocese with like a toolkit with some, you know, different examples. But I think, yeah, the journey is important. I think where we've kind of struggled. I'm thinking of when I used to work at the church. I was out of Holy Name of Jesus in Wayzata. And yeah, I think we focused a lot on the new members, and then it was kind of like, what's the path to bring them in? And I think that's one thing I've noticed in a lot of kind of these new member things on the other side. It's like, you know, first you bring them in, then you get them involved in a small group, and then they can go out and find other folks. Or it was just a much clearer path when I started looking on like the Protestant side than on the Catholic side, where it's like, well, if you get involved here or here. And so I don't know as we mapped out the path as clearly as I've seen it on the other side, but to your point, that's absolutely necessary. You know, it's kind of like someone who would just kind of visit. We've even talked about here, you know, how do you get from someone that you're just visiting a parish to where you kind of feel at home, like you're a member. So keep asking the question, and, you know, it might be worth talking to some of your existing parishioners, like, how is it that you got connected? Most of what I heard was that they either for the pastor, you know, they really loved the pastor at the time and they were very engaged. And then otherwise they, you know, they found some ministry to get involved in, and that's how they stayed. And so maybe that's what that next step is. And that's something that I think a lot of Catholic parishes do very well, is you have lots of ministry groups and places that people can get connected. And then that's all you need. You know, in one place that you feel like you belong, and that's your foothold into the parish.
Thank you. And here they do a fantastic job once someone signs up. I actually get to be a part of that. And one of the changes that I made already is just from one of the webinars I listened to, was sending a personal note, a handwritten note rather than a form letter. We're sending both, but just like two that I sent out last week, one of them I knew that they had just baptized their baby, and so I was able to say congratulations on the baptism of the baby's name, and just so excited to have you, and Heidi is our pastoral care person, and she and Father Dave are the ones on the letter. And so, yeah, just putting those two things together, I'm hoping will be more helpful and more personal as a welcome once they've signed up on the parish roster kind of thing. So where they're calling St. Bridget's home, where I want to hope to help them with what are you doing between the visit and them choosing to call St. Bridget's home. So thank you.
If I remember right, Molly, who had to drop off, but she's in Florida now, but back when she was at Vincent de Paul, I remember her talking about a very, they had like a marketing or a very specific way to reach out to people that were joining the parish. And I can look back, I'll look back and see if I can find any of that and send that along with my notes today. But do you remember that, Nichole? I feel like they had like a whole campaign around.
Well, I remember the return campaign, which is if you'd been away from the church for a while. I don't remember the details on kind of that path, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I know that they were very, have that really engaging parish and community. So, no, the other thing I was just thinking of though, Jen, was I haven't done a lot of this, but are you guys live streaming still as well? Are you finding you have a bigger live stream audience, or are you more looking at, you're seeing more new visitors actually now coming in through the door?
Well, for us right now, we are recording services and then posting. We haven't gotten into live streaming yet. Not sure if we will. Father David's still considering all that. So no, mostly it's just there's since I've been here only 3 or 4 weeks. I come from a small church on the Protestant side, and so that here there's like six or seven new families since I've been here in a month that have signed up to the parish, whatever. What is it called? I can't even remember. But the parish registration.
Like the Book of Pew type of thing?
Well, maybe, but we have it on the website and they print it off and they fill it out and say that they're joining St. Bridget's. And so on the Protestant side, we call that, they're becoming a member. But at our end, they go through a class and, that kind of thing. So, but here they just sign up and say they're transferring their membership or they're becoming members here. So, but that 6 or 7 families is a lot to me in a short period of time. So, yeah, I don't know how many of those were new visitors or if they're just people that have been attending for a long time and then just finally choosing to register.
Yeah, that's really smart. It's funny, I didn't even think of this. So the other weekend, or just this past weekend, while we were trying to go to and again, anyone with kids could probably relate. We were trying to go to the Holy Name, I know where our normal parish is, but we've moved since then, so it's a long trek out. So as soon as I looked in the car and I'm like, it's 10:15, we're not making the 10:30 mass. So I'm like, okay, where do we want to go? So we look up online and like, oh, St. Adelia, they have an 11 o'clock, great. So they required registration, right? So we registered and then we went to St. Adelia. Smart thing to do if you're watching that is if you see someone who's not a member, like, oh, hey, this is a new family. Maybe we should send them another welcome communication, and I kind of go from that. I hadn't even thought of it from that standpoint, but if any of you are doing online registration for your masses and you're seeing folks you don't recognize, that's a potential touch point right there.
Right. Okay.
Of course, I blame my kids, but was I ready on time? No.
All right. I've missed some. I'm sorry, I missed some comments in the chat. I'm just going to go back really quick. I will. Some people had asked about the census. I will share a Google Doc of the questions that we're asking. We did talk about, like, do we want to ask what their interests are or some other questions, and we decided to just get the contact information so that we have that. And then from there, we thought we would be able to do some tiered marketing to find out some other things like, do you want to follow this group or whatever. But I will send out our Google Doc with those questions. I think Sarah had asked for that. And Alyssa, it looks like you're starting a census right now also. Do you have anything that you want to share about?
Since I haven't been a part of this side of things, I was just curious, like best practices. We're actually having a brainstorming session tomorrow, and I took some notes on what other people had said, but, I think the postcard, that's my thought, is the less information we need them to answer or send in, I don't know that we're going to be able to go all online, but I think that takes care of some of the challenges of you can't read people's handwriting and you get a higher response rate. But really, I was just looking for if anyone has recommendations or best practices that they want to share, knowing I haven't gone through this myself before on this end. That would be much appreciated.
Okay. We've talked about this a few different meetings now, and I get the feeling a lot of people haven't done one lately, but I will, like I said, I'll send out that Google Doc to share my questions. And then my plan is, and this kind of relates further down to another chat question about forms, all of our forms, so our census that I'm going to do, our online registration for new members, our event registration where we collect money, everything we do through Parish Soft Giving. So, and I actually love that. And I think someone, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it now, someone asked about what forms we use. And so that, Celeste, you had asked also about pledge forms. We do that all through the Parish online forms of Parish Soft. Did I hit them all? Sorry, there were a lot of chats that came in and I wasn't paying attention. Anything else? Are we ready to?
I just had a real quick question. I hope it's at least quick. I know that recently we had gotten some new forms from Catholic Mutual. I know some of them relate to now with more Zoom meetings, things like that going on. They look to be a little more extensive. For example, I know with, we've had kind of on our registration for faith formation or events, we'll just maybe put a couple of sentences about, people giving us permission to use their images, in promotions on, website, print, etc. And we always make sure we put in there, especially with the kids, that we will not identify by names. Are people now switching over to those very elaborate? Because I know what I was seeing from some of those, they're basically a full page. So are you using those instead and incorporating that fully into, say, your electronic registrations? Just out of curiosity, how people are, what people might be doing.
I'm still trying to get my head around all of them. I read through, it was a lot. It's a lot.
I know, that's kind of where I am too.
And I'm kind of relying on each ministry for their input. But we do have one of the forms that we did share with Father Jonkis and Vicky Klima. They're going to be here speaking. So we're having them do the new, I think it's the Zoom one about Zooming, Zoom meetings or Zoom sessions, having them authorize us to share them. Other than that, I haven't used any of them.
Okay.
Does everyone know what we're talking about with these forms? I know Dean also shared them with a lot of people last week from Catholic Mutual, these new forms. Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
I think our confirmation coordinator put the forms in the packet with the, you also have to sign up for confirmation through some other information. So he put that together too. And then for live streaming, we have a binder that's near the equipment so that everyone who's ministering at that live stream service signs. But as far as general faith formation, I think she hasn't put that together yet. It is intimidating. And like you, faith formation had just a checkbox that said, you're being notified that your child will be in our promotional pictures and blah, blah, blah. You have to opt out, kind of like our school district does, opt out. But it's intimidating.
But when people opt out, who keeps track of that? Because I don't recognize people. If I think we've talked about this before. If I went to take a picture of a group of people, I would never look at them and know that someone had opted out.
For us, that was particular to the children's programming. And so it was that coordinator, and she did know who opted out. So if we took any pictures, group pictures of the children and the, you know what I mean? So it was the program minister who knew. But like you said, now we're questioning, what can you post for the fall festival? Not that we're having a large group this year, but that's what it read like. It read that you can't take a picture of a fall festival that had a child in it without their permission.
I got the sense it might even be adults too, and maybe I'm wrong, but I got the sense that it's, you really have, like, that you have to have permission from, where again, where it was, unless they were considered, you know, vulnerable, or if there was maybe just one or two individuals in the picture. But if it was a more of a group setting, we, you know, felt okay to use it unless, and haven't had any issues. But again, now my sense, or at least maybe that's just me being overly reading something else into it, because again, there was a lot of information that I just got the sense we pretty much have to have everybody sign off on everything. Is that what you're sort of getting to, no matter age, you know, adults as well?
You know, if there's more questions on it, I was aware of some of the forms. I don't know if I'm aware of all of them, because I was more of thinking of the Zoom and the live stream where you actually would have video, and there's a little bit of that difference on the assumed privacy. Like I've heard, like if you're inside the church, there's an idea of assumed privacy, and you're a little bit, you know, you're a little bit more, I guess, not necessarily obligated, but it's the right thing to do to have something saying, we're filming. If you do not wish to be filmed, please sit in this section or something like that. Outdoors, I mean, it's always a best practice, but I don't know as it was ever required. But if there's questions on that, you feel like the form is showing that, maybe send that out through the flock note or somehow, and then I can maybe get Paula from Catholic Mutual to weigh in, or maybe she could even join for 5 or 10 minutes on one of our calls, just to kind of speak to that in greater detail.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, the only last thing I wanted, oh, actually two things. In the chat, if everyone can see the chat, Nichole did post the link for Evangelus. So if you are interested, you can go there. And then again, I'll try and send that out later. The only other thing I wanted to see, Nichole, if you know anything about this, Julie Meyer contacted me on, I believe it was last Thursday, asking if, regarding the synod information, Father, gosh, now I'm not finding their names, Atrice Coons and Father,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if they could speak for about 30 minutes to this group. Do you know anything about what she's asking? Because I replied back and said yes, but we're meeting on Tuesday, and I hadn't heard, so I just assumed they didn't want to come in. However, they do want to speak to the group, and our next meeting won't be now till October, and they are actually, they have a date of let's see, September. They were planning, do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and it was more, I think, just to talk about, they wanted to have a touch point with each of the ministry groups to explain the synod process, because there had been a change from how it was originally communicated from the 2 years to the 3 years, and then specifically focusing on what we're doing in year 2. So they did a similar thing. Sean was in on the DRE version of it, so you could probably talk a little bit about what they did as well. But yeah, they just kind of went over what the synod process is, and then I talked a little bit about the app, and you know, they just mentioned for parishes this year, it's just basically some options that you can put forward. If you'd like to participate, great. If you find them of value to your parishioners, that's fantastic. But that's kind of what this year is about, is just kind of that preparation and discernment. So it's always helpful to hear from them directly if they're able to, but that being said, we have on the website right now, and I mean, I can even take a few moments now too, maybe to go over it if it's helpful, but just a little bit of what I talked about earlier. There's the Praying with Scripture series, there's a Healing and Hope series, and then in the winter, kind of January, February, and Lent, there'll be a couple other offerings that are coming up. So that's just really what they kind of bring up, and then just wanted to make sure each ministry association is aware and that they can, you know, kind of use it in their own ways as they see fit.
Right. I just found the note now that it starts kind of mid-September. So yeah, they wanted to just come in and talk about those offerings. So you kind of covered that, I think. So I maybe will just have them reach out, or what would be the best way if they have some additional information to reach out to you to share with us, or?
Well, yeah, and maybe what I could do, we go till 10:30. I'd be happy to pull up what they go through just to quickly walk through the things I did not talk about yet. But I don't want to take up the rest of the time if there's anyone else who wants to discuss things. But then maybe what I could do is I could just pull up the overview and just say I went through this and that, and then see if they want to come in still, if they'd like to touch base. Obviously, I think that there's value, but then at least the content is covered before the series starts and before it kicks off.
If you want to do that, and that's how we'll end today, why don't you just go ahead and take a few minutes to share that, and then that way, because I did offer for them to come today and I didn't hear anything, so that way at least we're covered, and we can maybe have them come sometime prior to maybe the next set of sessions starting.
Sure, that sounds good. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. So this is going to be a really key page. Hopefully, for those of you who were working in the same role last year, you were familiar with this Synod promo page. So this is where you find all the parish promotional materials for the Archdiocesan Synod. You can start out by just saying, you can either go to our main Synod page, which is archspm.org/synod. That's open for all the parishioners. It's also on our main drop-down menu, which, sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my window here, but essentially, you got a short link right on our main Synod page if you forget Synod promo. So this is where you go for some information. Right under resources for parishes, we have a couple things for those of you who work with your parish ambassadors. We have a document that kind of explains what their role looks like this year. We also have some website and social media information. So this is one of the things we talked about, and it touches on the idea of the app, but this is just so that you know how it's promoted to parishioners. Basically, they have two options that they can get connected to this fall series on Praying with Scripture and the Healing with Hope. They can either download the app from the App Store, or they can also sign up for weekly emails. Now, just so that you're aware, we're creating email headers. I'm also going to put those email headers on our Synod promo page. So if you want to ask your parishioners to sign up for your own weekly emails to participate in the series, to run it on your own, we're gonna post those as well. But that's kind of how parishioners can get engaged right now. They can download the app, or they can sign up for weekly emails. And each week, either on the app or via email, they're going to get delivered the video, the resources. There's a prayer companion with prayer reflections that they can kind of go through. And it teaches that Ignatius way of prayer, of praying with Scripture. And again, the idea is just deepening the prayer life, being able to hear God's voice through that greater relationship. And then, frankly, just benefiting your life as a whole, hopefully, but also benefiting the Synod process from being able to pray and discern a little bit better, right? So all these materials are going to be posted on the main Synod page as well, so that you as a parish, you can pull the materials, you can use them. You can use them now, you can use them next year, the following year. I mean, the idea is that they should be evergreen. So, maybe you want to share the videos now of Praying with Scripture and then have kind of a small discussion about it. There's some discussion questions too. So you can there's different ways you'll be able to use the materials if you'd like to. Just also so that you're aware, we're planning to, all the materials will be available on Sundays. So it'll be like, so starting September 13th, the first video goes out. The next Sunday, and the next video goes out. So they'll be on our website. They'll be on the app. They'll be received via email. But for people who want to do online engagement, we're also going to schedule a stream each week on Tuesday evenings at 7 o'clock. So that's going to be for the folks who are on Facebook, which really goes far beyond our archdiocese, and on YouTube for those who want to engage digitally. So that's another option. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Each of them will be streamed on Facebook. We're doing a recorded streaming, but kind of like recorded but live, right? So that's where folks can watch them online. And then here's the information about the app that I kind of chatted through before. So that gives you a little more information specifically about the communications. When you're talking with parishioners, this is kind of this is your main document that you'll want to go to. And this is what they really are talking about when they get together. So this is a synod overview. You might remember last year they had kind of a very text-heavy document, but it talked all about what the synod is about. So this is the different thing. This is what's changed with moving to a 3-year process. So last year there was like the church listens. We had all these prayer listening events. We talked a little bit about what we got out of that process, and that from that process, Archbishop was able to come up with these 3 focus areas. So, and if you go on our actual synod webpage, you can see that that's broken down into quite a bit more detail. So it looks kind of simple, like forming parishes, but that really means all of this. It means welcoming parishes. It means collaboration, liturgy, and I mean it's quite neat. It looks like 3 sentences, but it's really like 15 different areas. That's what happened in year 1. They just really saw that those were some key needs in the parish, and I'd really encourage you, if you haven't yet, to read Archbishop's full kind of letter that he had in the Catholic Spirit about it. You can go ahead and you can access that also on the Synod webpage here under announcements, because he talks about that process, and then he also talks about a few things that are kind of coming outside of the Synod process that just needs to be addressed now. Like, I feel like the cultural communities was one of those examples. So definitely encourage you to read that, encourage our parishioners to read that. But yeah, that was year 1. Year 2 is about what we're in right now, where the church prepares. And again, that's a little bit of what we talked about here. There's the, praying with scripture and growing in holiness. And then there's the virtual retreat on healing and hope. And Father Bambenek talks about that really well, talking about the process on that. So we have descriptions on this, on the back page here. We'll explore that a little further. But then just so you know, year 3, that's the church engages. So that's where what was originally the second part of the synod now goes to year 3, starting in fall 2021 with the parish consultation groups, where parishes will meet in small groups and talk about these focus areas, kind of further hone what really needs to be discussed and addressed. Then deanery level, so everyone and some people in the deaneries will talk about it a little bit more, and then the actual synod assembly. So this gives you a lot of details. It gives the parishioners a little details. I also have all the text from this on our synod promo page. I have it all set up so that it's in bulletin announcement form. You can run it in a series if you'd like, or you can, I think it's going to pop them in a different window. Anyways, but you can run it in a series, or you can run blurbs as you see fit. I also have it in Spanish. So you have Spanish overview. It's in the Spanish resources here. So you have this whole thing in Spanish, and you also have the bulletin announcements in Spanish. So again, the back page of the overview, this just tells you a little bit about those 2 series. One thing I didn't talk too much about is what happens in winter and spring. So they have a few things right now. The Faith and Culture series, and we'll talk more about this when the time comes, but basically there were areas that were not named as focus areas that were still seen as important, but they had a little bit more to do with kind of church teaching. And they kind of had set out, the synod is not going to change church teaching on some certain things, but we want to look at what we can address here in the Archdiocese. Well, still a lot of questions came up. So the idea was, we listened to the stories from the faithful pertaining to these topics. Now we're telling the story of the church pertaining to those topics to kind of talk about how these relate. So this is run through the Catechetical Institute, I want to say, or possibly Catholic Studies. Some outside organization is running these, but there'll be these online talks that have to do with sources of Catholic teaching on sexual morality in the family, dignity of women, and the priesthood. And the idea of, there's both the baptized priesthood and the ordained priesthood, and really understanding some concepts with that. And then the last part of it is the synod at home, which is that idea where you kind of, this would be during Lent, that we'd be offering this for families, where you kind of take that same synod process where you listen and then you talk and engage and discern, and he takes it on a family level. And I don't know, some of you know Chris Casselts from Holy Name of Jesus. I guess they did something like this with their parishioners, where they were kind of able to grow together as a family. And it was just kind of a nice personal program offering that they could do. So it's so that we're going to have more materials on those coming out. And just through all that, the idea that you can grow in your prayer life, you can be healed from past hurts that you've had, you learn a little bit more about the church's story, and then finally come closer together as a family. Those are the ways that we're hoping to prepare minds and hearts for the next year, where we'll be able to look a little bit more at issues facing our archdiocese as a whole through the synod process. So that's a very, very quick overview, but hopefully that's enough to kind of give you an idea of where it's going and where you can find additional resources. We do have a poster, a bulletin, we're calling it a bulletin stuffer, but you can put it in your online bulletin or post it, whatever you'd like. We have one of those posted now as well that's really just talking about those first 2 series, kind of help promote that among your parishioners, and then just the different ways that they can sign up here. I don't know, again, I know I'm tossing a lot in your direction. Are there any initial questions, any thoughts in general about kind of what I've explained so far on if this would, oh, you know what? I remembered one more thing that I don't have posted right now, but it is a really important part of this Praying with Scripture series, and that's going to be the prayer companion. So that is the boots on the ground way to teach someone to pray with Scripture. So I don't know if any of you are aware of the kind of Ignatius prayer process, but there's that idea of kind of putting yourself in the Bible story. So if you're reading about Martha and Mary, it's not that Martha said this. It was like you're imagining yourself, I'm there in the kitchen. I'm seeing that Mary's not helping. And I'm telling the Lord, why aren't you allowing her to help me? And the Lord looks at you with love. He speaks to your heart and he says, choose the one thing. What does that mean for you? What does that mean in your life to put him first? And it's taking you into that deeper process of prayer. So there are these, based on Scripture, there are 5 series of reflections that are going to be posted each of the 5 weeks of this Praying with Scripture series. And again, that's why it's nice to have the app, because they're all going to be on the app. You can just pull them up right there each day and do your prayer time. And the idea is that as you go through, it's walking you through this deeper prayer process and just really teaching you a lifelong skill of praying with Scripture. So that's one of the really cool tools that'll be coming through with that series that hopefully parishioners will find helpful.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I'll get back to, I haven't heard yet from Julie Meyer, but if you talk to her, but I will let her know that we kind of covered it today, and maybe they can catch up with us on a different meeting. So, all right, everyone. Like I said before, if you have ideas for topics that you want to discuss or just some questions, send them to me, and I will make sure we include them in the next meeting, which will be, gosh, no, I can't see calendar. It looks like October 6th. Is that the next first Tuesday of October? All right, everyone have a great week, and we'll see you in a month.
Thank you.
That's good.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.